My dear friends in Christ, hearty wishes and prayers to all of you. I'm happy to meet you through this YouTube channel, Guanella Media. The whole Guanellian world in this year 2021 is joyfully celebrating the 10th year canonization anniversary of our dear founder, St. Louis Guanella. In this jubilant year, I'm happy to share some of my viewpoints on the topic, Don Guanella Educator. The word education comes from the two Latin verbs which are educare, the other is educere. Educare which means to mold or to train somebody, whereas the word educere is to mean to pull out or to lead out. When we read the writings of our Guanella, the second verb, which is educere, often occurs in his writings, which means he understood that in every person there is something God-given talent or God-given memory which is hidden in somebody, and it is the duty of an educator to pull out that and to make know the potentiality which is hidden in a person. So the Guanellian education presents it as a set of action aimed at the promotion and global improvement of person in mind, heart, body and behavior. So the ultimate aim of the authentic education in the Guanellian tradition is to care for the differently abled persons so that they can achieve holiness and salvation of the soul. I limit myself to care of the education of the differently abled persons because the Guanellian tradition is known for its ministry to the orphans, to the elders, the pastoral activities and care for the differently abled persons. And I limit myself the education that is given in the Guanellian tradition for the care of the differently abled persons. So when we see Father Guanella as an educator, there are some things that played vital role in improving himself, in developing himself as an educator. The first one I would say is his family. In his family, he gained two kinds of education from his family. The first is docility of heart, loving behavior from his mother. The other is severity of paternal authority. His father was very severe in giving education to his children. I mean education not in the sense what we read in the books, but it is from the life experience. When we see Father Guanella as an educator, he has his educational foundation from his life experiences. The first is his love for education started in his family. In his family where the formation is built on the severity of paternal authority. His father was little bit severe or strong in his expression, whereas his mother was very kind, loving. So he learned this kind of education from his family. But when he went to the Galileo Academy for his studies, especially during his theological studies in Galileo Academy, he served as the prefect of discipline for 2 years. So there he opposed the military and austere regularity and rigid disciplinary educational system that existed in the Galileo Academy. Instead of this system, he implemented democratic system or the educational system that is based on faith and love. He wanted to have a relationship of education that is more attuned to equality, care and dialogue. So his family and Galileo Academy were the instrumental in forming him to become an educator with a heart for Christian teachings and with a heart for the poor. When we say about the Guanellian education, Father Attilio Beria, the great Guanellian scholar, would say we have to start from the paternity of God. Paternity of God is the core inspiration of Saint Guanella as an educator. It is because Father Guanella understood God as a father. So the relationship between God and man is not like a relationship between God and man, but it is the relationship between the loving God towards his son. That is the thing that Father Guanella experienced in his life, and he transmitted this experience to his followers. Also he implemented this experience in his mission. One of the first acts of charity for the Guanellians towards others is to provide assistance for the education. Education which I mean to care for the body, soul, physique and behavior which I mentioned earlier. So For Guanella, when he speaks about education, he believed in the environment that surrounds the differently able persons more than the effectiveness of singular activity, which he says like this, right? The small thing that is done for them, the attention that we give to the differently able persons, the small encouragement that we give to them fosters their growth, their learning. So, St. Gonella bases his education on faith and love. Based on these two pillars, he develops his education. As I said earlier, the final goal of education of informing the differently able person is to make them as good Christians and as a good citizen. When I say here good Christian, which it can be also applied to other religions, because in this world the Gonelians, regardless of the religion, we serve to different people who come from different religion. So which means we give them God, we give them also to become a good citizen of this world. So the Gonelian educational system perceives man as a being who possesses a body, also a soul. They may be weak or suffering or miserable, either both in body and mind. But when we say them as a human being, it is believed that they are redeemable, they are educable. They can be educated, they can be in any condition, both in physic and psychic. But for Gonella believed that they can be educated regardless of their condition. So when we say this Gonelian education, the Gonelian education is, this system is involved in the delivery of the following activities such as rehabilitation, caring for their health and body and spirit, to provide them religious education, to rehabilitate them through work. First, when we say rehabilitation, rehabilitation refers both the different things such as physical, psychological, logical, ethical, and social and religion. So, through instruction and work of the use and suitable means, the Gonelians promote the development of the physical, emotional, and intellectual capabilities of the differently able persons with greatness, openness, liberty, and truth. The Gonelians continue the works of charity of Saint Gonella in harmony with the scientific and technological progress of the special education of the boni fili, which means the good children. So, in their care for the differently able persons, the Gonelians provide therapeutic and educational interventions in order to protect and promote the dignity of the differently able persons. We also facilitate the involvement of the differently able persons in the society so that they don't feel that they are isolated from the society, they are segregated from the society. We do all the possible things that helps these differently able persons to to integrate themselves into the society. Father Guanella understood work as a rehabilitative therapy. Saint Guanella held a sacred view on work. He introduced this work in his institute in the Guanellian tradition among the residents to work according to their capabilities. Each one of us have our own capability. Each differently able person have their own capability to do works. So it is the duty of the educator to identify it and to make use of their potency. He aimed at the foundation of integrated and inclusive society for all persons, because through this work they can contribute both to the society and to the place where they are accommodated. Also, it is helpful for them, which helps them to rehabilitate themselves both in physic and psychic. My dear friends, now we understood how for Gonella, with the means and time possible during his time, was able to innovatively and creatively help these differently able person to rehabilitate themselves. And we are in the 21st century. We have a lot more, we have many more opportunities in caring for the rehabilitation of these differently able persons. May we understand properly the rehabilitation method that were used by Father Gonella and implement them in our institute, that will help these differently able persons rehabilitate themselves in both physic and psyche. As we are celebrating the 10th canonization anniversary of our dear founder, may we be faithful to the heritage and patrimony that is passed on to us. May we understand it properly and practice it in our life So also you may pass it on to the generations to come. May God bless all of us. So when we say this Guanellian education, the Guanellian education is this system is involved in the delivery of the following activities such as rehabilitation, caring for their health and body and spirit, to provide them religious education, to rehabilitate them through work. First, when we say rehabilitation, rehabilitation refers both the different things such as physical, psychological, logical, ethical, and social and religious. So, through instruction and work of the use and suitable means, the Gonellians promote the development of the physical, emotional, and intellectual capabilities of the differently abled persons with greatness, openness, liberty, and truth. The Gonellians continue the works of charity of Saint Gonella in harmony with the scientific and technological progress of the special education of the boni fili, which means the good children. So, in their care for the differently able persons, the Gonellians provide therapeutic and educational interventions in order to protect and promote the dignity of the differently able persons. We also facilitate the involvement of the differently able persons in the society so that they don't feel that they are isolated from the society, they are segregated from the society. We do all the things, we do all the possible things that helps these differently able persons to reintegrate, to integrate themselves into the society. For Guanella understood work as a rehabilitative therapy. Saint Guanella held a sacred view on work. He introduced this work in his institute in the Guanellian tradition among the residents to work according to their capabilities. Each one of us have our own capability. Each differently able person has have their own capability to do works. So it is the duty of the educator to identify it and to make use of their potential. He aimed at the foundation of integrated and inclusive society for all persons, because through this work they can contribute both to the society and to the place where they are accommodated. Also, it is helpful for them, which reflects, which helps them to rehabilitate themselves both in physic and psychic. Next page. For Guanella says like this, right? Though the differently able persons lack something in their physical and psychic level, they must be encouraged to perform useful tasks no matter how minimal they are, since they have potentiality and ability to produce some developments. So, among the different works, Saint Guanella preferred agriculture. He was very he understood that agriculture would be a best mean for the differently able persons to bring out their capacity, to bring out their ability. In all his institutes, he wanted to open farmhouses for the differently able persons. You know, even the scholars spoke of occupational therapy, that is the therapy that is based on work. It is for Guanella who introduced this occupational therapy based on work in his institutes. So, this educative value of manual work for the differently able persons is introduced in order to improve their physical and intellectual capacities. The occupations are adapted to their condition, easy in execution, useful for pleasant result. So, he understood that this occupation, the work, the therapy based on work will help the differently able persons to remove themselves from being idle, from being lazy. He understood and he strongly believed that the work as a rehabilitative therapy will help them. Uh, will help them to identify their capacity and potency and to remove this idleness, laziness from their lifestyle. Also, in the other way, it helps them always. It helps them to remove that they will be living the vegetative life. It helps the what helps the differently able persons to be active always in their lives. The second thing that we take care of in the differently able persons is to care for the health of body and spirit. Don Guanella recognized the rights of the differently able person towards physical and psychological health in order to keep them away from all forms of illness. And so, they must be given healthy and regular diet, good physical hygiene, personal hygiene, suitable and appropriate clothing, adequate time for relaxation and rest. They also must be given periodic medical experiments, medical examinations, and therapeutic care to check out their individual needs are addressed. The suitable exercises also to be offered to these differently able persons so that they will not be just eating and sleeping, or just they will not feel themselves in a lazy situation. We must give them always suitable exercises, suitable therapy to care for their body's health, and to provide them available therapy for their psychological and physical rehabilitation. They must be always taken for walks during their after. We must find the time to take them for the walks so that it will be a kind of relaxation. Also, it will be good for their physical health. Also, the environment where they live, or both personal and the place where they live, must be clean and neat so that it will not affect these differently able persons. Saint Guanella also gives great importance to music in education. You know, during his time, these things were not given that much importance, but he understood each and every singular thing to care for these differently able persons. When we speak about music, it seeks to aid the differently able person to express themselves in sounds, rhythms, and melodies that synchronize the universal expression of life and existence among the differently able persons. The music therapy is one of the best therapy for the differently able persons to relax themselves, to identify their capacities and potentialities and abilities, to bring it out so that they will be happy, and they themselves will feel that they have something which they can achieve. They have something so that they will not be isolated from the society. Also, they will not think that they are useful for nothing. They are useful human beings, but the educators must identify these capacities and potentialities and pull it out from them. Next page.